Good morning everybody and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Volmer, and today is a video response to Damaged Goods Part 2. So that's what this video is about. It's going to be relatively short because I've been inundated with comments over this subject, which is absolutely fabulous because it's good to gauge opinion and good to gauge what other people think, and to try and get people's thoughts. And so before we get into that, just a little bit of housekeeping. This is going to be one of two videos going out. This video is specifically about my previous video, and it's basically a video response to the comments that I've been getting, because a lot of them are very, very similar. So that's what this one's going to be about. And then that way, the next video is got nothing to do with that. It's just going to be back to the sort of usual kind of stuff that I do. So that's kind of something else to look forward to, and just to keep that separate. Like I said, this video isn't going to be very long. It's just literally just to clear up a few bits and pieces. The other thing to say before we start with this particular video is a very, very happy birthday to my very dear friend Alan over at Dragon Junction Mark 2, not to be confused with Mark 1. It's now new and improved Mark 2. He's back, and he's a dear friend of mine. And what can I say about Alan? I love him to bits. We talk to each other most days. We have a giggle most days, and he's done so much for me in terms of sending me stuff. And he, you know, like I said, it just goes on and on and on. He's just a great pal, and love him to bits. So a very happy birthday to him. So on with the video. So like I said, I'm not going to have this going on and on and on forever and a day. This is going to be a relatively short video. Hopefully it'll be about 10 minutes or so, maybe 15, because I was inundated with so many comments about the wagons, the Acura scale wagons, and just general quality control. And many of you, I mean, thank you for all your support, by the way. I mean, and also I should actually mention before we get on with this video, is also I've had a number of subscribers turn up to the channel as well. So big thank you to all those who are new and have turned up to view my videos. So like I said, I'd like to thank everybody for their support and their input, I should say, and their views. So I'm just going to quickly, because I'm going to bundle a load of these comments together, because there tends to be sort of two camps about it. So rather than go for every individual one, sometimes it's just easier just to explain in person exactly what I'm thinking and what I'm going to say. So there tends to be a camp of, you know, we shouldn't be accepting this, and which is totally, that's one side of it. And there's another side of it which says, well, you should send it back. And you shouldn't have to deal with, I mean, one comment said that I'm part of the problem, and I don't take it personally. It's just, when I say me, it's like people like me who make do amend, because I said in my last video that I've just generally make do amend and rather than send it back. And quite a few comments said you should just send it back regardless. That's the only way that they're going to deal with it, is if you just send it straight back, because then they'll have to deal with it and they'll send you out a new one. And I have to say I disagree with that. And the reason why I disagree with it is purely because I've seen, and my personal, and I've also had it myself, where I've seen people send stuff back, and I know for a fact that there are people who have sent back a Hatton 66 because it was damaged the first time round, and they said, fine, we'll give you a new one. They sent a new one out, and that was just as badly damaged as the first one. So you have to put these things into perspective. To be honest with you, I don't necessarily particularly trust everybody, and that's kind of where my view of it. I still have, which is the one I showed you the other day, a Batman 57, which I bought. It lasted a few months. The engine gave up, the motor gave up, It was under warranty. It was sent back to Batman. And like I said in the previous video, you know, you think, yeah, it's going back to Batman. It's going back to the people who made the item. So therefore, you know, they know what they're doing and they're going to send it back to me. It's going to be no issues. But it came back to me and it hadn't even been attached properly. The body was loose. It wasn't attached properly. And the lights weren't working properly. And so in the end, I've had to deal with it. Okay, they've replaced the motor and it's now working. But the point being is that they didn't do a proper job on it. I've known people who have also sent stuff back to even to Hornby to have and had issues with their HST and their lighting, and they've sent it back and they've repaired it. But then when they've come back, it's come back with other issues. And I've seen these videos of other people saying it, and so it's not just me. I'm not sort of saying, oh, you know, it's just me having these issues. So I'm very reluctant to send my stuff back, because the way I look at it is, for a start, the wagons that I bought from Accurascale weren't actually bought from Accurascale themselves. They were bought from one of my model shops that I work, that's relatively local to me in Basingstoke, where I work. However, that is a 28-mile round trip. And on this particular occasion, when I bought these wagons, I wasn't actually working. So for me to sort of go back there and then return it all and have all that, it just doesn't justify the cost of the fuel. You know, so what I'm saying is it's annoying that we've had to accept items like that, but I fixed it because when you take into account how much fuel it's going to cost me just to get, you know, some cheap super glue, just to quickly glue them back together again, it's just easier to do that than send it back. I could have given it back to the shop owner and he could have dealt with it, yeah, but again, like I said, it's my time, my fuel to get all the way back there to do it. So you have to factor in all these things. I mean, like I said, on my 57, it was the motor. So fair enough, you send it back because it's the motor. But with these bits from Accurascale, and it seems to be quite a lot, it's just little things, which is just annoying little things and frustrating little things that you just think to yourself, we don't need this. And you end up putting up with it because it's just easier. Because if I was to say, if I had bought these from Accurascale themselves, they may very well have accepted it and sent me a new batch. However, is it guaranteed that the new batch they're going to send me is going to be in any better condition? You just don't know. So you just kind of think, well, better the devil you know. So you have to think very carefully when people say, oh, just send it back, because it's a very blasé remark. Just send it back. You know, let them deal with it. The only way to send it back is if you're just going to get a refund, because then you just know you're going to get your money back, job done, end of. But if you're going to send it back expecting to get another item back exactly the same as what you've purchased, then there's no guarantees that the item that's coming back to you is going to be in any better condition than the ones you sent back. And that's where I sit. I don't particularly fancy the idea of emailing or phoning Accurascale or whoever, going backwards and forwards to discuss whether or not it is my fault or not, or whether they believe me or not. And then if they accept responsibility, then I've got to have the hassle of going to the post office, sending it back, waiting weeks for it to be dealt with, and then hope that the item that they send back to you is actually proper and pristine, as it should have been to begin with, but you just can't guarantee that. And so for minor little things like this, it's an annoyance and it's a frustration and it's a disappointment, and we shouldn't have to put up with it. But however, it is kind of easier just to glue it on yourself. So that's where I kind of sit with it. So to me, I'm just kind of, it just frustrates me, because the whole point of this exercise was to buy better quality wagons and proper wagons. And like I said, with the name Accurascale on this occasion, like I've mentioned, I have had issues with Batman and with Dapol and with Accurascale. So it's not just, you know, one particular manufacturer. So, you know, but I've overcome that. and I'm going to show you what I've done to them now. I have since weathered them. I love them as they are. I think they're absolutely beautiful now. Now I've weathered them. I've taken some photographs. Sorry, not taken photographs, sorry. I looked at some photographs on Google and basically replicated as best I could what I've seen on Google to what I've actually recreated on these wagons. Now the thumbnail at the front, at the intro, will show you, will kind of give you an idea of what I was going for. So I'm just going to spin you around and I'm going to just show you these wagons and now how much better they look. And I feel a lot better for it now, because now, you know, any of the blemishes have kind of been covered, or, you know, looked at, you don't really see it or notice. So it just looks so much better. So I'm going to spin you around. And like I said, you know, I'm not the only one. I appreciate I'm not the only one. And I appreciate this is kind of where we're going. But personally speaking, I would rather have stuff just molded if they're that fragile. If they're that small and fragile, I would rather have them molded rather than, you know, paying for somebody to spend extra time to put these finer details on, which aren't going to sit on the models and then be on the bottom of the box, because after all, we're paying the extra to have that extra detail. So not only are we paying the extra to have that extra detail, but then we're then having to pay extra to then fix to the extra detail that's fallen off along the way. So to me, it's not worth it. I'd rather they just knocked a fiver or a tenner, however much that additional process costs, you know, and just knock that off and just not have those extra finer details if they're that fragile and that brittle, and just have some molded, nicely finished molded pieces. And I'll give you some examples of that because I've got some new stuff to show you, but that will be on the next video. So I'm going to spin you around and I'm going to have a show you basically how I've weathered these wagons. So here in front of you are my VTG wagons. I've now weathered them. They're all weathered. And some are, as you can see, this one at the end is quite lightly weathered, and some, they're all at different sort of, they're not all the same, which is what I wanted. A lot with the newer, so a lot of the pictures I saw, they sort of had these, the panel detailing, the data information, that was all kind of cleaned up. So I've kind of replicated the ones that they've kind of done. So they all look absolutely lovely now, and I prefer them now. I'm much happier with these wagons now. Now I should point out that they are hooked up to these Dapper ones, which I was comparing them to. Now I realised afterwards, but somebody had actually made a comment on the video as well, that these are actually, I think it's KIB wagons or KWIB wagons. I think they're KIB wagons. And I only realised that afterwards. But ultimately, they do the same job, and I would still say I'd rather have the Dapper ones. To be honest, I still go by that. That hasn't changed. I would still like to have the Dapper ones. So, but as you can see, these are all weathered now, and I'm a lot happier for them now being weathered. I think they look so much nicer. So I'm going to do a few running shots before we end the video. So this concludes the end of today's video. So it's probably just over 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so. But basically, I'd like to thank you all for subscribing, your support, your input and comments. It's all very appreciative. And like I said, I hope you understand that there are two ways of going about damaged goods and stuff like that. Like I said, if it was anything serious, I definitely would have sent it back, no problem at all. But you have to weigh up your options and factor those in to see whether or not you're actually going to gain anything by sending things back. It's not always the best option, and that's something to bear in mind. So until the next video, it's goodbye from Mildenhall and Volmer. And instead of a running session, which I had promised you, that will be the following video, but some new stuff's turned up, which is just going to have that shown to you before I do a running session. And it's all very exciting. It's going to be more like new stuff, upgraded stuff. So it should all be really, really good. So until the next video, it's goodbye from Mildenhall and Volmer, and thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.